The entire section 125 is about the small business deduction, which is that thing that we want, and which can get us $30,000 a year compared to if it doesn't apply. And subsection 1 is the thing that provides it to us. They may be deducted from the tax otherwise payable. And it includes defined terms like Canadian controlled private corporation. More to come on that. 1.1, turn the page please, is the rate. The rate changes year to year depending on political and fiscal considerations. Right now is 19%, which takes us down to that 9% net rate. 125.2 references the $500,000 and also says that we have to share the 500 with associated corporations. Associated corporations is the main topic of today's class. Let us skip ahead to sub 7. So here we have CCPC. Look at the top of page 987, income of the corporation for the year from an active business. So just about every part of 125.1 is a defined term, and here's another one. There are about 3 or 4 different kinds of businesses defined in the Income Tax Act, and only an active business is the one that qualifies for this, for the small business deduction. We'll have a look later at the word business, which itself is defined in the Income Tax Act. I'd like you to go to 125.2, and please also open your textbook to page 518. At the bottom of the page, D, large corporations. So the Act says, look, not only do we want to put limits on this thing, this small business deduction is so awesome that you can only use it for up to $500,000 worth of income per year. But if your corporation happens to be very large, like very large, we won't give you any small business deduction. And by very large, they say if your taxable capital, which is essentially the assets of the corporation, is more than $15 million, the corporation gets no small business deduction. I can envision a company like, for example, Palliser Furniture, which is a Canadian-controlled private corporation, having probably $15 million worth of assets, and therefore not getting any small business deduction. Therefore, they would be taxed as a general rate corporation. They phase this out, starting with taxable capital, i.e. sort of total assets, of $10 million. If your taxable capital is $9,999,999, you get the full $500,000. But starting at $10 million worth of taxable capital, they phase out the small business deduction until you get 0 by the end of 15 million. So what that looks like on a graph is this. So this is taxable capital. And this is the small business deduction maximum that I'm allowed. And let's say we've got $5 million of active business income, therefore some amount greater than $500,000. So I'd really like to claim $500,000 worth of small business deduction. So this is $500,000, this is 0. This is 0 taxable capital, 10 million, and 15 million. So at taxable capital of between $0 and $10 million, I have the full $500,000 available to me. It's a good day. But between 10 million and 15 million, it goes down to 0 like that. And it's the business of accountants to calculate this. It's not the business of you. The thing that I need you to know is just that this concept exists, that for very large corporations, you can decide for yourself whether 10 million is large. Actually, I make no judgment. Some people would say $10 million may not actually be a terribly large corporation. Between 10 and $15 million, it goes down to 0. Yes?
Does that taxable capital take into account things like real estate assets that may not be entirely owned or that might be leveraged? I'm just wondering whether that, right? Because if you're starting a small trucking company with 10, 15 trucks, $10 million doesn't go that far, and if they're all leveraged, to be able to make that happen, does the Tax Act care about that at all? Or does it say you bought a nice office building to start up your business, and yes, it's all leveraged, but it's just a big building, suck it up?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, the Tax Act doesn't care how it's financed, and the Tax Act doesn't care if it's gone up in value since you bought it or that type of thing. It's just more or less based on the number on the financial statement, which is normally the historical cost of how much things cost. And yeah, honestly, $10 million doesn't go terribly far. I mean, the average incorporated lawyer, for example, well, $10 million would go pretty far. The average incorporated lawyer won't have to worry about this. But a lot of, manufacturing companies, capital-intensive services like trucking, et cetera, this certainly comes into play. Thank you. That's a good place to break. Let's come back at 10 after 2.